This is Denmark, a small country in the north of Europe, which is famous for its picturesque coasts. The high standard of living naturally attracts a lot of emigrants to Copenhagen. Currently, only 74% of the city's residents are native Danes, and a quarter of the capital's population are migrants or their descendants in the first generation. Most of the visitors in the city are from Pakistan, Turkey, and Iraq. At the same time, in recent years, Denmark has adopted a policy of limiting migrant flows. For example, in 2021, she was the first in the European Union to declare that she would send Syrian refugees back to Syria. In Copenhagen, it was considered that the war was over, and it was already safe enough in those surroundings for people to return to their homeland. Those people who have been fleeing the war all this time. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said that those seeking asylum should not remain in the country. By the way, shortly after such a statement, Frederiksen and the Social Democrats Party won the parliamentary elections with the best result in 28 years. This suggests that these ideas enjoy support in Danish society. There is also a law in Denmark according to which the authorities can seize valuables from refugees. The money from the sale of these valuables is then used to support the refugees themselves, but this law is actively criticized by human rights defenders. There are quite a lot of migrants in Denmark. There are people who come as refugees. Then there are those who come to reunite with their family. Many more come here to study. There are those who come to work. There are many categories of migrants here. Their number has increased in recent years. More and more people want to study and work in Denmark. These are mostly highly qualified specialists, usually engineers or employees of international companies, but also people coming here to reunite with their family. Most of them come from European countries. Of course, migrants from Eastern Europe come. They usually work as carpenters, or build something. Refugees come from Syria, from Afghanistan, from Eritrea, from Iran. The Danish government had a policy according to which the number of refugees staying in Denmark was supposed to decrease. The authorities said that it was better for the refugees to go to some other countries, but as practice shows, the majority received the status of a refugee. To become full-fledged members of society, refugees need to learn the language, obtain a residence permit, and a work permit. Until the status is confirmed, the refugees live in a special center, something like a camp. Some of them are managed by the Danish Red Cross, some by municipal authorities. You can get out of there. Children go to school from there, and there are different classes for adults there too. Someone can live in such a camp for a whole year while waiting for a decision on their request. After obtaining a residence permit, migrants are sent to the district in which they were assigned. There, local authorities help them look for housing. The local authorities will also provide you with an allowance for which migrants can attend language classes for free. Most migrants get jobs that do not require high qualifications and language skills. They take on such a job for 1 or 2 years. But since there is a low unemployment rate in Denmark now, it is therefore not so difficult for even newcomers to get a job. Denmark is considered one of the toughest and most inhospitable countries in the European Union in relation to migrants. Denmark is not required to follow EU immigration policies due to the exceptions granted in 1992. When the Social Democrats came to power in 2019, they tightened immigration measures, including the creation of refugee reception centers outside Europe and the deportation of applicants to third countries. These measures are supported by the majority of Danes, despite criticism from the EU and the UN. In Denmark, policies aimed at significantly limiting immigration and the return of refugees have received widespread support among the population. These measures have received the support of the majority of Danes. This reflects the unique political culture of the country, where concern for the preservation of national identity and cultural values is important. Another Danish law that is actively criticized by human rights activists. This is the law of the ghetto, or the law on parallel societies. Its essence is to settle social housing, where mainly poor migrants live. According to the Danish authorities, in such places, those parallel societies are being formed that live in isolation from the majority of citizens, engage in crime and interfere with Danish society. In general, Denmark remains one of the most inhospitable EU countries for migrants. The society here is very worried that visitors will increase crime or form their own communities separate from the Danes. There will be problems with these communities later. Denmark shows how democracy allows citizens to decide how many migrants a country can accept, and perhaps its example will become a model for the rest of Europe, which is facing similar migration problems